What's up? This is Dams It All, the show about the USACE mission and why it's important. We say dams because that's our most visible mission, and it's all because we do a lot more than dams, including emergency response. And that's why we're hard at work helping people recover from Hurricanes Milton and Helene. FEMA continues to request our support for tasks like emergency power, temporary roofing, infrastructure repairs, and debris removal. Coming up in a few minutes, I found someone who's been responding to emergencies their entire lives, and they're going to help explain how USACE Portland is helping the recovery efforts all the way from the Pacific Northwest. But first, we sent one of our award-winning content producers to document the work that we're doing in North Carolina. So here's an amazing story about how we helped get the power turned back on in the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Hurricane Helene was such a unique storm because we are so far inland. Normally we deal with coastal regions and islands. However, we're in the mountainsides of North Carolina in a river town that had a monstrous amount of rain that ended up flooding and destroying their cities, and then also the little communities that are up in the mountains. We faced a lot of unique challenges, but we had to work through those items, and we found a way collectively as a team, not only USACE, but the state, FEMA, and our contractors to really meet the needs of the individuals that were impacted by Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene came and made a pretty big impact in Asheville area, and we need to restore power to the affected communities up in the mountainous regions. Most of the generators being installed in this region are at wastewater pumps, freshwater areas, and nursing homes. FEMA identifies that an incoming storm is happening and they give us a mission assignment. In turn, we mobilize to the site that is going to be the affected area, and FEMA brings the generators, and our contractors must bring all the labor, equipment, supplies, and materials to the site in order to meet the demands and requirements for power generation at critical public facilities and have life-saving, life-sustaining support at those facilities. FEMA is responsible for providing us the funding and the mission assignment. In turn, USACE goes ahead and works with their contractors to bring all the labor and equipment to install. But before all that happens, USACE works with the state and FEMA to identify a 1 to N list on the critical facilities that they deem the most important, so we can get out to those sites first and have that priority generator installed as quick as possible. There are sometimes logistical challenges that we face that are much more complex, and we have to work with the state and some other agencies that help us determine the best path forward. Some of our hauling and installing teams may see down power lines, down trees, dilapidated roads as they go out to those sites, and they may actually have to be diverted into a new route that does take that extra time. So the logistical challenges are set up as we're leaving the GSBs. However, we might have to find another route as we approach the area because of down bridge or a road closure due to poor road conditions. A GSB is a generator staging base location where we operate out of. FEMA does provide us the generators and fuel tanks. We have our command cell here, and we work with the state. We see the priority list coming down, and once the facility is assessed and identified with needing a generator, we go ahead and take all those generators out to the facilities that have been identified that need power. We're on a recall notice of 6 hours, so we can get to the sites within 21, 24, or 48 hours. It's a lot to pick up your lives and family, but you know you're doing it for the greater good of our nation. I do this job because it makes me feel good. I'm good at it. I have a way to communicate with individuals, and that allows them to follow the processes and procedures that are in place while delivering readiness and hope to the communities. It's unfortunate when we have to come into these locations because it is a devastated time for them, but showing that we are here and our force is here to help them and get them power, get them clean water, get them the hospitals turned back on for life-saving support, that makes me feel good each and every night. The hours are long, but you know you're making an impact, so it makes you feel okay when you go to bed. You know, you may miss a meal, you may miss a day of talking to your family, but you're making an impact to the community that just lost everything. When we install generators at critical public facilities, it provides and allows lives to move on, go back to normalcy. It provides a little bit of hope that these individuals have not been forgotten about. We are here, we're here to assist, and we want to go as fast as possible And once we get to flip the switch of the generator and turn that power on, hopefully everyone can rest a little bit easier that night.
And that's some great work done by Michelle Saray out of USACE Pittsburgh. Now let's talk about Operation Blue Roof. This is a program that's absolutely free, and it helps people get temporary roof coverings after a disaster. This fiber reinforced sheeting, so it's not just a regular tarp, protects their property, reduces temporary housing costs, and it allows folks to remain in their homes while they recover from the storm. I've got the phone number and the website for Operation Blue Roof in the description for this video down below if you or anyone you know needs a blue roof to protect your home. We set up the Blue Roof call center in Portland so we could avoid having the people that are working in the call center using the valuable resources that the folks need in the area where the recovery efforts are taking place. Plus, if our folks are in the area where the hurricanes took place or the disaster took place, they could be affected by that as well. So it just didn't make sense for us. So that's why we moved the call center out to Oregon. I want to know more about who's calling and how we help them, so I reached out to Mark Mckay to see if he could fill us in. He's normally in charge of our disaster preparedness and response program, but after a hurricane, he becomes one of the floor managers of our Blue Roof call center. Thanks for joining us, Mark. You're from the Pacific Northwest, right?
Yes, and originally I'm from Roseburg, so just a couple hours south of here. So I grew up here. I moved away, joined the Navy, did that, and then moved back to Eugene. My first love was emergency management. I did search and rescue for Douglas County Sheriff's Office as a child, as a 13-year-old, and that's kind of got the bug, really. So
you went out on search and rescue missions as a kid?
Yes, lots of them. It was in the 80s where they didn't have cell phones or GPS units, and so people would go out, especially during hunting season. They wouldn't have the accurate kind of weather forecasting that we do now either. And they just really wouldn't think about it. They'd get out there and it would snow and they'd get stuck or their battery would die. Plane crashes, drownings, all kinds of stuff.
No, I don't know those things. That's incredible. What's the wildest thing you saw out there?
People, once they get hypothermia, they do crazy things. So we found people wrapped up in barbed wire fences, and I think maybe they stripped off all their clothes and started running. I know I actually had to get rescued myself several years ago. I fell and broke my tibial plateau and had to get medevaced out from the middle of nowhere. And I'm telling you, when you're laying there thinking, it's a real battle against your own mind.
Okay, I'm sorry, what now? You broke your leg and had to be helicoptered out? What was that like?
But I didn't get medevaced out of there till 9:30 at night, just as it was getting dark. Because the helicopter they were doing another mission, and I get in there and get all, they pump you up, and they got morphine on board and all that kind of stuff, and so you realize how, you really strap you in. It's very claustrophobic, but you can't do anything about it. So you're spinning up, and then I realize I guess I really don't like height. I'm looking down, the lake seems to be getting smaller and smaller, and then you get this big spotlight and the rotors. It's very surreal. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And you think, man, maybe I died.
Well, it seems like you've been chasing emergencies your whole life.
Yeah, I've been doing this my whole life, really, since, 83. I think helping people has sort of been in my blood. My dad started doing that. They had the big flood of 64, and he would interview people, broadcast where the river levels were on the radio, and he'd have to go out there and then come back to the radio station. But, it was before we had any of the social media or anything, really. And so, I guess it's been in my blood my entire life.
Not a lot of people seem to be signing up for stuff over the phone these days. So who's actually calling?
In some of the affected areas, the internet's not very good, and they either don't have a good enough internet signal, maybe that they don't have Wi-Fi, or they're maybe older and have a desktop type computer that they use that they don't have internet, so they really can't use it, and they're not comfortable doing it on their cell phone. So those are the folks that just call us, and like I said, we sign up for them online. Once they get the internet, they're able to check their status online, and then they can either call or check online and check the status.
Have you had any interesting calls so far?
One of the homeowner was in the intensive care unit and obviously couldn't get to the internet. And he, with the help of his daughter, I think, called, and he was very upset that he didn't think he was going to get any help at all. And we smashed it through and got it done. And he was very happy about that. We're here to listen to people. It's heartbreaking. People have lost everything in some cases. They don't have anyone to help. So we get them through that process so they can get in the queue and get a temporary roof put on.
So we don't have people whose job it is to work in a call center. So who are the ones that are actually picking up the phone when someone calls?
They're just everyday folks that work in our district. We have some that come. You can come from anywhere. You can come. Last time we had people come from several different districts. Anyone who wants to volunteer to help and has approval from their supervisor to take time out. People on the call center team really want to help.
It seems like a stressful gig. You're just talking to people who are in crisis all day.
Mostly they're real grateful that they actually have someone to help them. But they're the people that are calling us have had are having a real bad day, and so it can be stressful. Your heart goes out to them, and so we try to make it comfortable here. Have coffee and some good food, and it's a serious job, but we do try to have fun.
All right, what's something that you think everyone should know about Operation Blue Roof?
It's free, so a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have insurance, I don't know what to do, I'm elderly. So this is a free service. They come out and get contracting grade polyvinyl put on their roof, so it's not just like one of those blue tarps that you go buy at the hardware store. It's an industrial grade tarp that's nailed down to the roof, so it can sustain winds and rain. It doesn't completely stop the leaking, doesn't fix anything, and it can even further damage your roof because they put really big nails into the roof. But it's really designed for giving people, like if they have a big gaping hole in the center roof, after a hurricane, you usually get more rain afterwards. So you'll put a cover over that roof so it doesn't just continue to catastrophically flood your house and do further damage.
Hey, thanks, Mark. I really appreciate it. But before you go, I'm just wondering, is there something that you keep in mind when you're out there helping people in these emergencies? Like, do you have a mantra?
You just never know what position, what situation you're going to be in life somewhere, someday down the road. So be nice.
I mean, right? Just be nice. It's easy. I love it. Thanks for the chat, Mark. And you can find the phone number and the website for Operation Blue Roof in the description for this video down below. Well, that's going to do it for another edition of Dams It All. Thanks for joining me. And if you're enjoying the show, tell your friends. And if you're not enjoying the show, tell me all about it in the comments. For USACE Portland, I'm Luke Burns. Boy!